when a client comes into me, they're going to know they're going to get somebody who's also compassionate, patient with them, that understands that their needs are important to them, and ultimately they're my most important client at that time. That's the type of attorney that you're going to get.
And I would have had to pay back because I didn't know about that grace period or whatever you're talking about, what you're talking about. Then I had to either wait a year or something, and I could still get my license back, but I have to wait, right?
Sure. So a lot of time we have an implied consent. In other words, when we get our driver's license, we tell DPS that we will give a specimen of our breath or blood upon the obtaining driver's license. And so although we have a right to choose not to do field sobriety tests, not to provide breath or blood specimens, there is a penalty for not having provided. And so the length of suspension is greater for you if you do refuse a breath test or do refuse a blood test. And so those are the differences between whether you provide one or whether you don't. The length of suspension will determine as what number of DWIs is this for you.
Yeah, it was the second one in 10 years for me. It was the second one. So they kept my license for about a year. Yeah, a year and a few months. And plus, or either I could have paid to get my license. That's what they told me, that I could have paid to get but no, hombre, yo andaba en clica manejando sin license por un año.
and a lot of times they think, well, they've suspended my driver's license and I can't drive anymore, which is not true. Once DPS has made a determination that your license is suspended, we can file with the courts for an occupational driver's license. And here in Texas, there are two. Yes, here in Texas, there are two different types of occupational driver's license. There's one occupational driver's license that if you show that you have an interlock device installed in your vehicle, it basically acts as a regular driver's license. In other words, there's no restrictions, there's no conditions that are set as to how you drive your vehicle. However, if you choose to apply for an occupational driver's license that doesn't have this interlock device, well, you're limited to one, showing that there's an essential need for this driver's license. Hey, I need to go to work.
So yeah, pues sí, yeah.
And you're limited to 12 hours of driving a day.
Orale.
And so just because your license has been suspended due to a DWI or suspicion of driving while intoxicated doesn't mean you can't be legally driving on the road. Call my office and we'll get you driving legal.
All right. And another thing is that it wasn't just that expense. The other expense is, it was dismissed. I was found not guilty.
Sure.
But it's still on my record.
Right.
I have to expunge it. And in order to expunge it, that costs money too, right?
Sure. We deal with a lot of expungements in the office. Part of my representation of my client is to be able to present the best face forward to any prosecutor or any judge that's going to look at this file. And so in a situation like yours where let's just say you had a previous case that was dismissed, well, my first advice would be like, let's go ahead and expunge this so that we go in there with a clean slate. And so those are things that I do in my office quite frequently.
¿Qué tanto cuesta to expunge it, bro?
So just to file the court cost, just to file the petition is about $600. I charge anywhere from $2,500 to $3,000 to get these things done. Most of the time, if everything's in order and there's no objection, we can pretty much do these without having a hearing, so long as everything's agreed to. It's only in the rare instance that, say, DPS objects just because the statute of limitations hadn't run on your offense or something about the way your case was disposed doesn't necessarily qualify. That's when it requires a hearing, and that's when my clients will have to come and we make arguments for this expunction. But
and that's only if the case is dismissed.
Only if the case is dismissed.
Yeah, and you see, so if you get caught drinking and driving, it's you're going to spend some money, and even if you're found innocent, man, so you have to be very careful with just one or two beers as well, too. So
absolutely.
Just be careful. But So
especially around the holidays, you know, we're coming up around the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas times. You know, those are prime time, occasions where people come together, they drink, they barbecue, make tamales, you know, all kinds of things that we're doing when we're here in the Valley. But it only leads for more arrest, more traffic on the streets, more enforcement. Don't be surprised if you're going to see a no refusal Thanksgiving weekend, Christmas weekend, all those, DPS law enforcement are really trying to step up their patrol during these types of holidays.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no te la dejan pasar. Make sure to call Rene A. Flores, hashtag DWI Expert. Go to his social media, the law offices of Rene Flores. If you have any questions, he's going to answer them for you. If you have anybody that, a family member or anybody, or you that's having issues with the DWI, talk to this guy, man. He'll handle it, man. And he's got all the answers. And plus, he's a scientist, too. Tell me about that scientist thing, man. You got something over there in Chicago or something you want to go get?
We did. Last year, or the year before that, we began to take some courses, just to open up our minds to what type of defenses, how I could better defend my clients in these situations that are involved with blood draws, breath specimens, things like that. And so I went out and took some sort of classes, got some certifications, learned a whole lot about the Intoxilizer 9000, the process and how these machines work. So we really got elbows deep into these machines, changing out coils, changing out tubes and really getting in there with our hands and knowing how these machines actually operate. And so we spent, a month out in Chicago covering these courses, learning from people that actually teach the DPS analysts who are actually out there testing your blood, testing your drugs. Those are the same people that were teaching us in these classes, in these labs. So it was pretty intense. So I learned a lot. I'm excited to be able to use that in the defense of my clients. And so we have these tools that we've acquired to be able to at least have those conversations with my client. If that's the route they choose, right? If their case needs to be tried, these are the tools that we have to be able to defend our clients.
All right. And by the way, if you're involved in an accident or have injury, this guy will take care of you as well, man. Rene Flores is also a sponsor of the Whiskey D Christmas Toy Concert happening Saturday, November 16th, and it's going to happen in Brownsville at the Wind Bar and Grill. Panteon, Over an Enemy, and Venomous are performing with us. We're going to put on like a 2-hour show at midnight, man. It's going to be fantastic. And all the toys we receive, we're going to give them to the kids, as we do every year, personally, from the Edinburgh Housing Authority. So make sure to go out there. And we need to get in, all you need is an unwrapped toy worth $10. And it'll get you in, man. We're going to have a good time. And Rene Flores, man, thank you for joining me. It's always good, man.
Bro. This is the second time, we do this together. And so last year I missed out on helping you guys, but this year I wasn't going to miss up the opportunity to bring this,
No, you've always been there for us, man. I appreciate it. And, and I think it's the second time, but it's the first time I ever tell you my DWI story, right? I never told it to you.
Never have. We talked about other things. And like I said, I want to commend you for your efforts in doing this every year. I mean, we all have busy schedules.
Yeah.
We all have things that we do, and this is something that I know is near and dear to your heart.
Man, dude, when we give away the toys to the kids, the look on their faces, and then because there's like 4 or 5 different complexes, right? So we get to one, and they're all in a line ready, and they get their toys, and then when we're leaving, we turn around, and they're all scattered through the playground playing with their toys. And it's just a sight to see, man. And then we're doing it every year. Last year, we almost didn't do it last year, man. It was a last-minute thing last year, but my wife said, you have to.
Yeah,
you can't. You got to be consistent. You have to. And I said, you're damn right. Let's do it. And so we did a very, it was just us and another band. It was a band playing at a club, and I asked them, hey, man, can we do our toy thing there? And, and we'll play, and, you guys play with us. And, yeah. So we did it, and big shout out to Draft, the Science Brothers. They're the ones that we did it with last year. But this year we're going to Brownsville. This is the first time we ever do it in Brownsville. Yeah. So, and we haven't played in Brownsville in about 3 years, man. So I think we're gonna have a pretty damn good party over there.
I don't perceive to be better than anybody.
When you come into my office, I want you to look at me as an equal, and that I understand who you are, that there's no judgment that is being made towards my client. That's what's one thing that I'm going to be real. I'm not going to lie to them. I'm not going to promise them anything that I can't commit to. They can expect honesty, a lot of honesty, a lot of real talk. Definitely not going to promise you something I know is unachievable. When a client comes into me, they're going to know they're going to get somebody who's also compassionate, patient with them, that understands that their needs are important to them, and ultimately they're my most important client at that time. That's the type of attorney that you're going to get.